Our topic today is the genuine of learning and practice. In order to practice right, we need to have enough belief in the mind. But if we don't have the wise teachers, the Shakyamuni Buddha or the patriarch to help pass down the Dharma, we will not be able to practice to reach liberation. So in order to be on the right path, we cannot go without the wise teachers. So we encourage people to take refuge in the jewels and give rise to the body mind. So we rely on the three jewels so that we are instructed by them, especially the Sangha, to help us on our path of practice and direct us on the right way. And once we get rid of all of the attachments and ignorance, we will be able to control ourselves and eventually be able to, maintain this right Dharma and pass down to more and more sentient beings. So when we talk about the Buddhas of the three times, that is no different than referring to ourselves. So the topic of this week about to learn and to practice, we need to be diligently on the practice. Right now, anybody have any questions or want to share their experience? Feel free to bring it up. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. This team, please. The teacher, all Dharma friends, I listened to Master Suen talk about when we practice, we need to understand clearly the principle of prajna and the principle of voidness and interdependent conditions, so that we can be clear on the practice. Could you please explain more about this? Thank you, Master. So for the Zen practitioners, we say they need to understand clearly the principle of the prajna or voidness and the interdependent conditions, or even about the meaning of the three sentences. It's all means they are all similar and all refer to us belief in our own mind. If we have complete belief in the mind, then our practice will be at the absolute point. But because we don't have enough belief in the mind, that's why the Buddha had to use different routes, different means to help explain to us. So when we say about the meaning of prajna or the meaning of the 3 sentences all throughout the Diamond Sutra and apply that the meaning of the 3 sentences to all worldly dharmas, and we will be able to understand the principle of prajna. So we all know that out of the 49 years of teaching of the Buddha, 22 of those years was to teach prajna. And for preacher Zen, we keep referring to the non-abiding. That is to sow the seed of prajna for us, or even for the indirect methods, all of the rituals, or all of the recitation of all of the sutras, or even for the small vehicle. All of the theory direct us to get rid of the attachment, and all of the vehicles refer to prajna as the ultimate way. Doesn't matter whether we understand or not, we still have to practice. So that is actually referring to we believe in our mind, referring to focusing on the practice. So from the teachings of the Buddha, from in all of the sutras or any of the theories, it all refers to belief in the mind. Belief in the mind represents all of those theories, and that's why our practice all direct us to have complete belief in the mind. So that we can give rise to the strong determination to practice. So, but all of those words are to encourage us to help us raise the birth and death thoughts, so that we feel more encouraged to practice to the point at when it becomes automatic. Or we can also say that is where the plateau is. So our practice is the seed of enlightenment, that will eventually lead to the effect, which is enlightenment. So when we read the sutras or learn the theories, it's to help us believe in the mind, not to gather more knowledge. If we believe in our own mind, that is the right belief, But if we chase after the knowledge, that is just a going outside, outward, and that is not the right way. But even so, we don't encourage people to discard all of the words or the theories either. So whether they attach or not attached to those words and theories, those ways are not the correct way. And our teacher also told us that attached to the none is even worse than attached to the yes. Only the practice will help us move away from duality and help us transcend our yes or no, help us not being controlled by yes or no. So what will help us not being controlled? That is the prajna contemplation. Not the prajna theories. So our Buddha and teacher all want us to see the words, the teachings is like just the finger pointing at the moon. We need to see it as just a skillful means to help us truly see the moon. So we have to be clever in using the skillful means so that we don't get trapped or controlled by that skillful means. So our learning and our practice go together very closely. They go along and get aligned to one another. If we use them in the right way, then our practice will generate clear results. It's not to satisfy what we want, what we seek, but to truly follow the right path of prajna. You understand my teaching? Yes, I do. Thank you, Master. Cảm, please. The master or teachers, practitioners. For the topic of learning today, I would like to share my own view. If I look back at the teachings of our former master in his time versus after he passed, if I keep listening to his teachings, I feel like it's all of his teachings is can be reduced to believe in the mind and to raise the doubt. But for the beginners, they very easily get challenged by the words, like get rid of attachment, belief in the mind, determination of birth and death, etc. We all know about those words, but how to believe in the mind, I feel like it's very difficult. you taught us a lot about it, but we try to practice, but still it's not consistent. It's up and down. If someone asks us right now, do you really believe in the Buddha? Do you believe? We can say, yes, I do. Or if we ask, do you believe that you have the same power like the Buddha? I would say yes. But that is still just saying, but really, do I believe or not? I feel like it's very difficult. So I remember the former master said, if you want to believe in the mind, we need to understand what the mind is. So to believe in the mind is to believe in the essence. This essence doesn't have any boundaries. It's transcends space and time. However, those are still just words. How to put those words in practice? When the master said the mind essence is without boundaries, but if we attach to those, then we get trapped again. So the former master continued to explain that we created the boundaries of our own mind. Once we attach to certain place, we put a limit on our mind, and once we have something to abide to, then we lose the complete function of the true mind. But we are not able to believe in the genuine mind. We keep believe in the deluded mind. That's why we keep following the wrong path. But if we have in the belief already, and then we put in practice, and if we are able to keep the practice consistently, then we will be able to keep the doubt consistently, and that in turn strengthen our belief. And gradually, when we keep doing that, we gradually have the genuine belief. So the practice is the one that help strengthen the belief. So I feel very appreciative, and I feel like I don't want to waste any of my time, and want to use all of my efforts to keep that doubt. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. I keep reminding myself to come back and maintain the practice and the doubt. And from there, I feel more encouraged, and I want to keep going without stopping, unless when I'm sleeping. But when I'm awake, then I feel the practice right there, right away. And I feel like if I keep that practice consistently, then the practice and the belief help one another and help my practice being more consistent. So the learning is very important, because I feel like when I learn from the Dharma friends, the wise teachers, it helps my practice be more consistent. So to me, this is an encouragement for me to not lose the practice. I just want to share my experience, or my own view. Thank you, Master. If you want to say more on this. The Buddha said in the Surangama Sutra, our genuine mind is non-dualistic, but because of our differentiation, discrimination, that's why it divides that mind into, multiple deluded versions. Or our preacher also said the mind is similar to the space. Without any possession. And why we don't say that? Because the space is, like so vast. That's why it can embrace everything. But we instead saying because the space is without any possession, that's why it can embrace everything. So that is a way to use words to help us believe in the mind. The mind is space, and vice versa, not dualistic. The space doesn't increase, doesn't decrease. So when we say the mind is equal to the space, we say the same thing. The general mind doesn't have any boundaries. It's because of our discrimination. That's why we see them as different things. So also in the Surangama Sutra, the Buddha talked about the 8 places of seeing. But all of those are just within subject and object. So the genuine mind is described as no boundaries, no subject object. But it doesn't matter how good we use words to describe, it's still, like just language, just illusion. That is just the second moon, and don't let ourselves be trapped or be tricked by those languages. The genuine mind is not to point at. The genuine mind is not to be understood. The genuine mind is to be seen, to be enlightened. But if we don't want to get stuck in those skillful means, we have to keep practice. And from our own practice experience, we will be able to truly get the idea that the Buddha is talking about. So the more we practice, and when we practice to the point where we reach enlightenment, it's just like a person who drink water. Only that person will know whether the water is hot or cold. And that's why the picture referred to this picture Zen as the method of self-enlightenment. And this self-enlightenment was practiced by the Buddha of the 3 times as well. But we need to make sure that we practice following the right principle. And in order to do that, we have to continue to learn. But learning is to complement the practice, not to increase knowledge. So we have to be very cautious with our practice. Similarly, the topic today or your shared experience is to be as a complement to help us practice. So beside that, anyone have any questions? You can also raise your question as well. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Thank you, Master. I also have a question. In the principle of patriot Zen, Master Lai said, so if you feel unsettled when you practice, that will help to overcome suffering. So what is the unsettled mind that the Master Lai is talking about? Is it the mind is unsettled because it's keep thinking about the birth and death? Could you explain more? So what we don't feel settled here, feel unsettled, or what we feel unpeaceful here is because they keep thinking about birth and death, and the moment they still not be able to resolve that issue of birth and death, they feel unsettled, unpeaceful, and that's why they feel encouraged to have to practice more. Versus the feeling of unpeaceful because we lack the worldly possession, like not having enough money and stuff. That is a different feeling of unpeaceful. That feeling of unpeaceful will lead us to more suffering. Versus the feeling of unpeaceful that we haven't resolved the birth and death is a different thing. Just like when the Buddha was still a prince, he keep feeling unsettled because he keep thinking about the birth and death, and he keep thinking like if he cannot resolve this issue of birth and death, he doesn't feel okay, he doesn't feel peaceful, you know. He worries about after he passed this life, he will keep go to reincarnation, and that's why he decided to leave behind everything and went to the forest to practice. So that is talking about a feeling of not being of unpeaceful here. And the prince, you know, look for the teachers everywhere. And after learning from even the most popular teacher at the time, but he was still not able to get rid of the attachment. That's why he eventually returned to the Bodhi tree. And eventually he reached enlightenment under the tree. And after 49 days, he reached enlightenment. And from there, he started, like giving the teachings and established the three jewels, as different methods to help the sentient beings depending on their capacity to enter Buddhism, and his Dharma still go on to nowadays for us to practice. So the feeling of unsettled because we keep thinking about birth and death. It's not that we fear of the death, but it's just because we don't want to keep go through more reincarnation. We don't want to spend any moment being controlled by our ignorance and attachment anymore, and that worries, about reincarnation push us to find a way to liberate from birth and death. This is very different from the feeling of being fearful of death. This is a feeling of not wanting to go through birth and death again. So that is what for the answer for your question. Thank you, Master. Miss Kim Hoàng, please. Buddha. The master or teachers and practitioners, I would like to share my practice. I share with you before on Zoom.
Dạ, Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Con kính bạch thầy, kính thưa quý sư cô cùng toàn thể đại chúng. Thì xin thầy cho con trình
because of being able to go on Zoom every day and listen to the Dharma every day, I feel like it helped nurture my belief in the mind and also nurture my thought of birth and death. So you've been teaching us a lot of time about how to believe in the mind, how to put that into practice. However, there is I can tell there is a difference between just listening versus put it in practice. Overcome, like over time when I practice, I feel like I can understand the teaching in a different way. Like I used to have some time where I go into a stage where there is no thoughts at all, and then I was also at a time where it feels very peaceful, and then also at a time where it feels very sleepy, and these cycles keep repeating itself again and again. So can you tell me if these cycles will follow us, continue to follow us again and again? At first I thought like these cycles, once we overcome them, then our mind and our body will feel more familiar with those and not gonna have to experience those anymore. But however, those cycles keep repeat again and again. Is it that this cycle will follow us up until we get enlightenment, or is it like depending on how we feel, whether we feel practice diligent or we lazy, that it can show up in a different way? Can you explain? Thank you, Master. So for the practice, if we follow the right principle to get rid of the attachment, have nothing to seek, nothing to gain, nothing to fear. You know, we keep teaching people like that, but in reality, they don't really follow the right principle. They keep seeking perfection. You know, they want everything to be perfect, work, practice, life, etc. So they thought that they practice to get rid of attachment, but actually they have even more attachment. Or when we feel like we want to be diligent, right? We put in all of the effort to practice hard and hard. And then when we push too much, our bodies start to feel tired and we feel sleepy, you know, and then and those cycles keep repeat itself. So why it keep repeat itself? Because, you know, the attachment keep happening. If there's no attachment, then the cycle wouldn't be there. So some people ask whether we get crazy if we practice Patriot Zen, you know, but they don't even know if we practice the right way, even if they are mentally disabled, you know, that the practice can even help cure the disease. But because when they practice, they didn't follow the right principle, they keep following their own ideas. That's why they generate sickness. If we always rely on the wise teachers, always rely on the right Dharma, you know, have to always remember that the right Dharma is to get rid of attachment. But only our practice will help us realize this and help us overcome those attachments. And the more we practice, the more we will believe in the mind and believe in the Dharma. So for Patriot Zen, I will say it straight. There's no way they turn into marrow or turn into the bad state. You know, if they maintain the doubt, that doubt is help us release all of the attachment. And once they can release those attachments, their sickness will gradually be gone. And the or even those cycles, if you know, they might repeat themselves, but if they practice the right way, you know, even if they repeat themselves, it will be less intense. So our mind change constantly. Don't get fooled by those changes, you know. Stick with the doubt, maintain the practice. But you don't need to go against the natural flow. You know, we just need to go with the natural flow. But doesn't matter how the circumstance is. We never forget or let go of the practice. That is the practice the right way. And if we practice the right way, then all of our sickness will be gone. You know, and those sickness is because of attachment. Once the attachment are gone, those sickness will be gone too. But if the attachment still there, then those sickness will be on and off, you know. So even though we sow the seed of prajna, if we are not able to grow that seed strongly, while the seed of, of affliction, ignorance, attachment is too strong, they may overcome and sweep away, the seed of prajna. That's why the patriarch said we need to have complete belief in the genuine mind. Don't let our consciousness control us. And that's why our patriarch said, the more we believe, the more we will get enlightened. Complete belief leads to complete enlightenment. The time is up. Goodbye, everyone. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.
Dạ hiểu rồi. Con xin cảm ơn thầy ạ.
Bây giờ cũng hết giờ, chúng ta hết nghe quý thầy, quý cô, đại tham, nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật.